So we had seen capacitor coupled voltage follower. And can someone tell me what is a capacitor coupled circuit? Why do we need capacitors? Just to recall, why are capacitors needed?
Sir, because we want only AC and not DC.
Correct.
For rectification.
Correct. So that we can block DC values and allow AC values. Fine. So continuing our discussion. Okay. So if you can see the circuit here, right? Yeah. Let me just. Okay. So if you can see the circuit here, VS. Okay. Voltage across the source is given here, and V in is actually taken from this point. Okay, that is VI, and V naught. Okay, so the output voltage is taken here, and VL is here. Okay, so all these points, okay, are taken first from the source, and before it gets into the op-amp input, just when it exits the op-amp, so that is output, and across the load. Fine. So the reason why we have done in this fashion is because so that we can understand it much better. Okay, right. Okay, so let's continue our discussion. I will bring across this diagram also forward so that it helps us. Fine. So we have seen that the circuit impedance is going to be the input impedance is going to be Zin, which is equal to R1. Okay, R1 is here. Okay, so that is in parallel combination with Zi. Okay, so I want you all to concentrate on this diagram here. Okay, the circuit here, so that you'll be able to understand. Yeah, please concentrate on this. Yeah. So when my Zi, which is input impedance, okay, where Zi is the input impedance at the op-amp non-inverting input terminal. Okay, so we have seen that, okay, we are connecting a resistor which is across the non-inverting terminal, and that resistor is R1, right? So why are we using this resistance R1? So that it will give way for currents, for input bias currents, slight amount of input bias currents. So we have actually derived previously that input impedance is equal to Ri into 1 plus AOL by ACL. Again, this formula you will have to remember. Okay, so it's better that you make note of this formula. Okay, Zi is equal to Ri, which is input impedance, 1 plus AOL by ACL. Fine. Now, generally what we do is we know that the op-amp's input impedance is very high, right? So we have been learning that from day one, that the input impedance of op-amp is too high, and hence it doesn't allow any currents. It doesn't allow these voltages to pass through. So Zi is always much larger than R1. Okay, so R1 is actually designed in such a way that if the capacitor value is taken lower, then my resistor value will be higher. So it is inversely proportional. Okay, both are taken in that fashion. So since Zi is much larger than Ri, okay, so we can say that Zin, okay, the input impedance is equal to R1, because see this portion here Zi is too high. So, and here this is the only resistance that I have, which is R1. So which means my Zin is equal to R1. So Zin is at this point near the capacitor, and Zi is the whole input impedance. So do not get confused with that, right? The load resistor RL is normally has a low resistance than R1. So RL will have lower resistance than R1. Now, as I told you, since this RL will have lower resistance, what is going to happen to the capacitor value? Capacitor and resistor, they are inversely proportional, isn't it? So since they are inversely proportional, if RL is too small, then consequently my coupling capacitor C2, okay, C2 at the output side is going to be high. Okay, so generally here, if R1 if Zi is too high, okay, then the coupling capacitor C1 will be low. Okay, so that's how it's taken. So therefore, because each capacitor value is inversely proportional with the resistance in series with it, C2 is usually larger than C1. Why is C2 larger? Because why is C2 larger? Because RL is small. Okay, because RL is smaller than R1. So which means R1 is big and C1 becomes small, and RL is small, so C2 becomes big. So you can understand that, you know, it's a combination of R and C. Okay, it is not just only dependent on R, it is not just only dependent on C, but then in combination of both R and C. Okay, so please keep this point in mind. At the circuit low 3 dB of frequency, okay, yesterday which we saw and we termed it as F1, the impedance of C1 should be much smaller than Zi. Okay, so yeah, at F1, so that there is no significant division of signal across XCL and Zin. So this is what I am talking about. So you have Vs, XC1, okay, Zin, and you have Vi, which is input voltage. In this case, C1 must have no effect on the circuit. Okay, why? Because R1 is high. R1 is high, so C1 is going to become low. So which means the impedance caused by C1 is very negligible. Okay, so we can say that, you know, XC1 is equal to the input impedance. Okay, the input impedance Zin divided by 10. So which means, you know, it is such low value that I take it as, you know, divided by 10, the value divided by 10, the value of Cin, okay, divided by 10. Fine. So consequently, since we have Zin is equal to R1, okay, I change my formula. So my formula in total becomes C1 is equal to 1 plus 1 by 2 pi f R1 divided by 10. It was actually Zin, but Zin is equal to R1. Why it is equal to R1? Because my input impedance Zi, okay, is very high, right? So if I view from this point, then it's going to be like, you know, R1 is equal to Zin. So I have this formula for C1. Okay, right. Now let us concentrate on this diagram here. Now in this diagram, we are having V0, XC2, RL, VL, right? So as we have seen in this diagram, okay, the circuit output voltage V0. So what you're trying to understand here is the output voltage is going to get divided between the impedance of XC2 and RL, right? So let me just show you that. Yeah. So whatever input impedance you have, yeah, whatever output voltage that you have, okay, that gets divided between these two. Okay, so this is nothing but your XC2 and RL. Okay, and this Vs is actually getting divided, or it has to pass through XC1 and it has to go to Zin, right? So these points please keep in mind, okay, because it will be able to, you know, you'll be able to understand as to how to solve problems. Now, okay, we have the equation, okay, between XC2 and RL to give load voltage VL. So we have the load voltage here VL, and what is the value of resistor RL? Is it low or is it high? How is it? Is the value of load resistance low or high? What have we considered? RL, the resistance at load, Is it high
Low,
or
sir.
yeah, it is low. Good. So which means my XC2 is larger, okay, or coupling capacitor is larger, C2 is larger. So we have this formula VL is equal to V naught, okay, V naught into RL divided by RL square plus XC square. You would have seen this in your network analysis, right? VL is equal to V naught into RL divided by RL square plus XC2 square. So the load voltage is dependent on output voltage, load resistance RL, and the impedance of coupling capacitor 2, right? So what I do here is I assume that XC2 is equal to RL, okay? When XC2, when I make XC2 is equal to RL. Now here we are considering that it is unequal. So if in case I make them equal, then what is going to happen to my formula? It's going to change, okay? It's going to change because I'm going to equate them, right? And RL, okay, will be again additionally put here for XC2. So RL square plus RL square gives me 2RL square, and the numerator and denominator RL gets cancelled, okay? So I'm left out with root 2. So 1 by root 2 is nothing but 0.707 times of V naught. We can also term it as V naught minus 3 dB. So if we take 3 dB into consideration, if you see the graph, so it is going to be about minus 0.707. So whatever is your output voltage minus 3 dB, that's why we have this minus 3 dB, at 20 dB, at 10 dB. So this one is considered, okay, at minus 3 dB level. Why am I considering at minus 3 dB level? So that I get my load voltage, which is 1 by root 2. Now in the next case, okay, now let us come with XC2. Now since the circuit is low, okay, at 3 dB frequency occurs when XC2 is equal to RL. So we have taken this condition here, XC2 is equal to RL, and the capacitance of C2 is calculated from, so C2 I will have another formula here, right? Important, please make note of this, we will be using for problems. C2 is equal to 1 by 2 pi F1 into RL, okay? So here it is dependent on, C1 is dependent on the value of R1, okay? And here at C2 side, it's actually dependent with RL, okay? So just please make a note of this. So just make note of C1, VL, then 0.707 into V naught, and the value of C2. Okay, so this is important. Okay, so just give me a moment. So we were looking at the formula C2, and C2 is equal to 1 by 2 pi F1 into RL, right? So here my capacitor C1, okay, is dependent on R1, and C2 is dependent on RL, okay? And now remember, here we have taken R1 by 10, but here we are not taking that value, right? Can someone tell me as to why we are not taking that value divided by 10? Yes. Why is that divided by 10 not here at C2? Yeah, students, can I have some response? It is because, C1 was taken to be, much smaller, right? Because R1 was bigger. So R1 was bigger and C1 was small. But here it was the reverse case at the output side. So hence we are not taking, the divide by 10 factor, right? Okay, so this design approach gives the smallest possible capacitor values when selecting standard value components. The next higher standard size should be chosen to give capacitive impedance slightly higher than calculated. So usually what we were doing, sometimes while taking the resistors, we used to take, not the exact calculated value, but then we used to take some different value, whichever is standard. But here the rule is, okay, with respect to capacitors, the rule is that, we have to take a higher value. Okay, say for example, I have 680, okay, 680 farads, then I will take about 700 if 700 is the standard, right? So a little higher than the calculated value. Okay, so it's always a balance, resistor and capacitor values, whatever you take, it's always a balance, right? So yeah, in an unusual situation, now let us reverse the case. Okay, here what we had done, we had taken C2 to be higher and C1 to be lower. Now in the reverse case, if in case C2 is low and C1 is high, so in that case, what are we going to do? Okay, we are going to reverse this. Divide by 10 is going to come here for C2, right? So that's what it says here. Then XC2 will be RL divided by 10 at F1. Okay, and XC1 will be equal to R1. So R1 I will not be dividing by 10. Okay, but here RL I will be dividing by 10 whenever my capacitor becomes small. So always keep in mind, whichever capacitance is small, I will be dividing by that resistance. Now C1 is associated with R1, C2 is associated with RL. So if C1 is too small, I'm going to divide it by R1. And if C2 is very small, I'm going to divide RL by 10. Is that clear, students? Yes? Any doubts here? Can I proceed?
No. Yes, sir.
Okay. So the one thing that you'll have to remember is the formula for C1, formula for C2, right? And of course, you need to know these conditions. Okay, when XC2 is equal to RL, and yeah, and initially you'll have to know this also, ZI and Zin, ZI, Zin, C1, C2. So if you know these values, majority you'll be using, C1 and C1 and C2 is majoritarily used. Okay, so apart from that, the rest of the things are just general, right? So moving forward with our next, we'll be looking into an example. Okay, so please all of you be ready with your calculators so that we can verify if these values are proper or not. Okay, so design a capacitor coupled voltage. Now again, here information extraction is important, right? So they are telling me to design a CC voltage follower. Okay, so as soon as you remember CC voltage follower, it means you will have one capacitor at the input side, one capacitor at the output side, right? So the lower cutoff frequency for the circuit is 50 Hertz. Okay, so that's the standard that we use. And the load resistance is 3.9 kilo ohms. RL is equal to 3.9 kilo ohms. So how we start? Okay, RL is given to us. Okay, I do not know C2, I do not know C1, and I need to calculate R1. So you can roughly draw this diagram first without the values, and then try to stuff in or calculate the values, and then you can insert those values here. Okay, now this value is already given to us, RL, right? And I need to calculate now C2, C1, and R1. Okay, so what we do is we have this formula. right? If you can remember yesterday, we had dealt with this formula where R1 max, okay, R1 max is equal to 0.1 times of VBE divided by IB max. So 0.1 into 0.7 divided by 500 nano. 500 nano, we have already seen this in previous tables, right? The characteristic tables. And someone calculate and tell me if we are getting about 140 kilo ohms. Are we?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
since 140 is not available, okay. See, this is what I was trying to tell you all. 140 is not available. I'll be using a standard value. Now this is lower, right? But for capacitor, what we're going to do is calculated value, but we are going for the next higher standard value of capacitance. Okay. So keep all these things in mind, so that it's easy for you to analyze. Now we know that XC2 is equal to RL at F1, so we're going to have calculated the C1 now. So R1 is calculated as 140, but we're taking 120. So R1 is also done. Now using this values of R1, it is easy for me to calculate C1 because it's dependent only on F and R. So F is already given here 50. So I'm going to substitute that. R1 I have calculated and used as 120. So please tell me if we're getting about 0.27 micro. Calculate it. Are we? Are we getting about 0.27? Just take an inverse. First, what you do, 120K.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. You're getting the value, right? Fine.
yes, sir.
So what you can do first, 120K divided by 10, then into 50 into 2 pi, and then the answer inverse you take, right? So you'll be getting this 0.27 microfarad. So this is also fine. So we just fill in the value here. So now what is left out? Left out is only C2. C2, of course, we can find out, right? Because RL is already given to us and F is already known to us, right? So 2 pi F is 50. I take it from the question. RL is also in the question, right? So which means I get about 0.82 microfarad. Calculate this and tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 0.82, right? So in this way, we take the values, we calculate the values. First put the general circuit, okay, just put a capacitor, resistor, and VCC minus V, okay, output capacitance, and the RL. So whatever values you have, you put in, and those values which you don't have, okay, of course you have the formula. Once you have the formula, one unknown value, you can find out with the remaining known existing values, right? Okay. So moving on to the next example, right? So what we will be doing is we will be using a BiFET. So instead of an op-amp, we're using a BiFET. Now remember, for BiFET, we had a condition, right? That my R1 is going to be how much? 1 mega ohms, right? And C2 we are taking from the previous example, okay, which is about 0.82 microfarads. Okay, so once we have that with us, okay, so we will be calculating C1. Okay, so they want us to calculate the CC voltage follower circuit given in previous example, right? So what we are doing here is we are using the same C2. Okay, RL remains the same, R1 remains the same. So the only thing that we are trying to calculate here is C1. Okay, so no, I'm sorry. this is the previous circuit which I have kept for reference. Okay, so we are only using RL value. If you just compare both of these circuits, RL value we are retaining, C2 value we are retaining, and R1, instead of calculating the value, I am taking it as 1 mega, right? So all these values I have now. So the only thing remaining now is C1. So using my R1, I'm going to calculate C1. So R1 was 1 mega, right? So can you calculate and tell me if you're getting about 0.032 micro? Are we getting 1 mega divided by 10 into 50 into 2 pi? The answer's inverse. Are we getting it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So this value is also fine. So we'll just put in the same value here. So 0.032. See here, we're using a little higher value. Okay. Instead of 0.032, I'm using 0.033. So that, you know, XC2, okay, will be less than, okay, R1 divided by 10 at F1. So we are using this condition here. So the thing that you have to now concentrate on is it 741 or is it by FET? So if it's by FET, then you're going to change the value here for R1. And if in case I give you this problem, then I'll be giving you, you know, some values, okay, probably C2 and RL, and I will tell you to calculate the remaining part. Okay, so the remaining is going to be C1, and you should assume R1 to be 1 mega, right? So in that way you can solve your problem. Fine. Any doubts here, students? This is the previous circuit, okay, the previous example, the last one which we drew here, right? So that one I have just brought in so that we can use the values previously calculated. Any doubts here with this example too?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So the next one, you know, that we'll be looking into is capacitor coupled non-inverting amplifiers. Capacitor coupled non-inverting amplifiers. So what was the first one that we looked into? Capacitor coupled voltage follower, right? Voltage follower. So any change in the circuit? Any change, or is it the same? Is it the same like voltage follower, or do we see any changes? Of course, we do have the input capacitor C1, then the coupling capacitor C2, then we have RL, right? And then we have a resistor which is connected at the non-inverting terminal. But these sections are new, isn't it? Yes or no? R2 and R3 are new here. Yes? Compare. Yeah, see this? All this part remains the same, just that, you know, here I am connecting R2 and R3. So R1 will be here as usual, R2 will come here, R3 will come here, right? So that's the only difference between voltage follower and non-inverting amplifiers, capacitor coupled non-inverting amplifiers, right? So yeah, when the input of a non-inverting amplifier is to be capacitor coupled, the non-inverting input terminal must be grounded via resistor. Yes, we have seen this, right? Via resistor to provide a path for input bias current. So we have seen this also in the previous one. So here we can see the arrangement where resistor R1 is made equal to the parallel combination. Remember what kind of combination is this? R2 and R3. It's a voltage divider combination, isn't it? Yes or no? Remember, students?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a voltage divider combination. So divided by 2. So this R1, okay, is made in such a way, okay, where this combination R1, R2, R3 are parallel to each other. So as seen, DC offset is unimportant with the output when the output is capacitor coupled. And so any reasonable value of R1 can be chosen within the limit. So R1's value can be chosen, okay, and the output, okay, the DC offset output is at the output, okay, is unimportant. Can someone tell me why is that? You know, we are telling that this DC offset is unimportant when output is capacitor coupled. Why is it so? Why is it
So
unimportant?
because we have already rectified DC and allowing only AC.
Yes, that is also one case. And the other, you know, specific targeting point is, since I have a capacitor here at the output, okay, it will nullify whatever offsets that are created. Okay, so hence this small DC offset that we see at the output side is not actually genuine. It is not at all need to be considered. It's irrelevant for me because I have a capacitor which will take care of the job of, you know, rectifying that. Okay, as in the case of CC voltage follower, we see that here also Zin is equal to R1 for a CC non-inverting amplifier. So here also the same thing, Zin is equal to R1. Resistors R2 and R3 are calculated exactly for so these resistors, you know, R2 and R3 are calculated just like how we had seen for direct coupled circuit. Okay, the direct coupled, which means, you know, we have seen this actually previously, if you can recall, right? And the capacitors are determined for the capacitor coupled voltage follower. So which means the formulas for capacitors here is going to be the same. C1, where R1 is divided by 10, okay, 1 by 2 pi f into R1 by 10. So that is, you know, what we're going to take. And C2 is going to be, what is it? C2 is going to be 1 divided by 2 pi f into what? Into R1 or RL? Into RL, right? So capacitor formulas also remains the same here for the non-inverting configuration, right? So just keep in mind we have R2 and R3 here, additional comparing to the non-inverting and voltage follower circuit. Okay, so we will just solve a problem and you will be able to understand, right? So I don't know if you all can remember when we were doing direct coupled non-inverting amplifiers. Okay, we had solved a problem. Okay, we had solved a problem. Let me just probably take you there. Yeah, that was in module 1. Okay, in module 1 we had solved that problem, and we have just brought in those values here, right? Okay, let me just see that. Yeah, it was in module 1, and those values we have just brought in here. So the non-inverting amplifier, okay, which was designed in previous example, is to be capacitor coupled. Now, not only the circuit, okay. Now remember, in the previous circuit, we didn't have these coupling capacitors, but here now we are going to include these coupling capacitors, and we are going to make some changes to it, right? So the non-inverting amplifier, we're going to design a coupler capacitor coupled at the input and output. The load resistor here is 2.2 kilo ohms, right? So how much is it? 2.2 kilo ohms. And the lower cutoff frequency, now here don't take it as 50, okay, but here we're taking it as 120 as in the question. So RL is going to be 2.2 and F is going to be 120. Make necessary modifications to give the highest input impedance and determine the required capacitor values. Now, when they say high input impedance, which means you're going to use the regular case where R1 is divided by 10 and for C2 it is just RL, right? So that is the important clue that you have to remember here when they say high input impedance, right? So try to extract data, try to extract clues from your questions so that it becomes easy for you to solve it. Right, so we have this formula 0.1 VB divided by IB max. So IB max we take from the characteristic table, right? And ultimately, we have this put up. So calculate and tell me if you're getting about 140. I think previously also we got 140, isn't it? In our previous solved example,
Yes, sir.
right? So this should be right. Yeah, we're going to take about 120 for R1. So R1 is 120 and here RL is given as 2.2. I already have it. And what else is given? Yeah, that's it. Only those two are given. And we are going to use the previous calculated problems, which means R2 is equal to 18 is also taken previously and R3 is equal to 270. Okay, so just refer my notes in the first module, right, where you will be able to find this exact diagram, right? But then in that you wouldn't find coupling capacitors C1 and C2. So we will use the formula now. C1 is equal to 1 by 2 pi f R1 by 10. So calculate and tell me if you're getting about 0.11 microfarads. Are we?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So remember, we are not going to go with the lower value here for capacitance, but then we are going to go with a little higher value. So 0.12 is what I'm going to use. So 0.12, so C1 is done. So the only thing left out is what now? C2. So I have 2 pi F1 into RL. So I just put the value of F, which is 120. By mistake, do not put as 50. And RL is already given to us 2.2. So see if it's 0.6. .6 micro. Is it fetching that value?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So again, here we're going to use a little higher value, the standard value. Instead of 0.60, I'm using 0.68. Okay. So C2 is also found out for us. Right. So in this way, you will have to find out the values. Now, keep in mind, what kind of question is asked. Okay. Non-inverting configuration, and it is capacitor coupled. Immediately when you hear that term, circuit should come in your mind. Okay, you should be able to remember that when it is capacitor coupled, I need to have one at the input, one at the output. Then when it is non-inverting configuration, then I'm going to have two resistors here, R2 and R3. When it is in voltage follower, then these two wouldn't come, but then these line will be directly connected here to my output line, right? So keep this in mind. C1's formula, C2's formula, all this you keep in mind. Easily you can solve any problem. Fine. Okay. So the next one, that we'll be looking into is inverting amplifiers. So inverting is going to be the reverse, right? So which means, the inputs are going to be at the negative terminal, unlike the previous one, we were giving at the positive, right? So here we're going to give at the negative. Now remember, we were having a resistor R1, right? So here I am getting my bias current from R2. From R2 itself, I'm getting the bias current. So I don't have to connect a resistor here at the non-inverting terminal R1, but R1 will be here directly. Okay. So C1, R1, bias current I'm getting from R2. So input coupling capacitor, output coupling capacitor, Vs is here, V in will be here, V naught will be here, and VL will be here. Okay. So, this is the basic diagram. Just remember this diagram. Okay. Yeah. Bias current flows via R2, and so the coupling capacitor C1 does not interrupt the bias current. So the bias current is not interrupted by C1 because I'm getting the bias current after the capacitor, and this is getting generated from R2. No resistor is connected or included in series with a non-inverting terminal. Why? The reason why we were including the resistor is because we just need a bias current. Now that bias current is fulfilled by R2, so I don't have to include an additional resistor here in the non-inverting terminal, right? So as usual, C2 remains here and RL. So if a question is asked, with regards to with a neat diagram, okay, draw the coupling, the voltage follower with the capacitor coupled configuration, then you will have to draw the previously discussed one. Okay. And if we have to see the non-inverting configuration, right, with capacitor coupled, then this is what we're going to do, right? Keep in mind when resistors come and when resistors do not come, right? And when I use the inverting configuration, so there also I am not going to see these kind of R2 and R3, provided it is directly getting connected, okay, via R2, and IB, which is the bias current, is given via this negative feedback resistor. So students, any doubts up till here? Any questions? Any questions? Is it all clear? Any doubts with the concepts we discussed so far?
No, sir, no doubt.
Okay.